Your answer already exists, you just cannot find it. Hey, it's Marek. I have a drawer in my wardrobe, and in that drawer, I have a tiny section into which I put all the single socks, the ones that I couldn't find a matching pair to. This behavior reflects my belief, almost a philosophical one, that the other sock exists. It just needs to be found. And this podcast is about a particular event or set of events that made me think perhaps this is how we should be thinking about some of the problems we have in our lives, in our businesses, in our organizations. The podcast is called the Erdős Gap. Erdős is the name of a Hungarian mathematician. He was one of the greatest mathematicians of the 20th century. Your answer already exists. You just cannot find it. In October 2025, so just a few weeks ago, mathematicians found solutions to 3 times as many problems as usual. Right? Quite productive. 23 of Paul Erdős' famously stubborn challenges, some unsolved for decades, suddenly fell. 23 of them. Now, there's a twist in what I just said. When I use the word found, that's a different type of found, as in found solutions, than we typically think of. So there's a webpage. The webpage is called Erdős Problems, or erdosproblems.com to pronounce it properly, ERDOS problems.com. And there are 1,111 challenges proposed by the great mathematician. Now, according to Paul Erdős, those problems have thwarted the efforts of the best mathematicians for many decades. And solving one is pretty much a badge of honor. There's a lot of people who keep trying to solve those challenges. Now, I looked at the webpage, spent some time with the numbers on that webpage, and I calculated that there are fewer than 7 problems per month that are solved on average. Fewer than 7 problems per month. Now, in October 2025, just a few weeks ago, it was different. As I mentioned already, 23 problems were closed. And in the first 9 days of December, when I was doing my calculations, when I was researching that particular post, 9 more challenges have fallen, 1 a day, more than a typical month in just 9 days. So that's quite surprising. And a lot of people were asking themselves, what's happening here? There's another great mathematician, a contemporary one, Terence Tao. He's an Australian-American mathematician, and he is one of the greatest minds in the field right now. Now, according to Tao, almost 12 problems in October were marked as solved after AI tools helped locate existing solutions. There were existing solutions to famously unsolved Erdős problems. It just, nobody was aware that they existed. Solutions that no one was able to link to Erdős problems. Perhaps even the authors of those solutions didn't realize that their work addressed a problem on Erdős list. Those problems were not solved the way we normally understand the word. They had been solved, but no one noticed. So that's fascinating when you think about it. There was a lot of media attention around this particular set of activities in October, where there were a few people who claimed that AI tools solved Erdős problems. They didn't really solve them. They literally found solutions. Those solutions had existed. Now, when I looked at December data, and look, I'm not a mathematician by profession. I have spent 16, 17 years of my life learning mathematics in every level of education, including 5 years of learning mathematics at the university. So I sort of understand it a bit, but I would still say that I have an untrained eye when it comes to mathematics. So I looked at the problems solved or marked as solved in December, and I saw the same pattern. So there was a problem number 94, in which a paper from 1995, 30 years ago, was found to contain a solution to the problem, to problem 94. And there was a user on the webpage. His username is Boris Alexeyev, who noted these references were located by ChatGPT. All right, the paper existed in some, unknown journal that no one ever looked into, and in that particular paper, there was a solution to a problem that Paul Erdős posed many, many, many years ago, more than 3 decades ago. Erdős problems reveal that particular bottleneck, that there aren't enough minds to sift through papers from obscure journals or neighboring fields. It's also a weird type of problems. It's a many-to-many problem. So an obscure paper might contain a solution that cracks one problem and chips away at others. And a particular problem might benefit from multiple partial solutions scattered around various papers that, when you bring them together, provide a breakthrough. Right? So it's a very, very interesting many-to-many problem. Tao describes this as a long-tail problem. So he says that there are a few famous conjectures that get the most attention, but there's a long tail of problems that receive less attention, and many of them are potentially easy to solve or already solved somewhere else. So AI is helpful here because it can work at scale. It's not like humans who can only, slowly read one paper and then, it takes them a couple of hours sometimes, then another paper and so on and so on. You can work at scale and you match meaning rather than just keywords. So you cannot really use, Google search to look for those solutions, because the other mathematician might have used, a slightly different notation, a slightly different vocabulary to describe the problem that they were solving. So this is really, really interesting. You're matching meaning rather than just keywords. You can shortlist those solutions. So importantly, those AI systems do not say this is the solution. They just shortlist that. They say out of 500 papers that I've looked into, I think 7 of them have potential solutions. So have a look, you human, have a look at those 7 papers. They can surface papers from adjacent fields, fields that some mathematicians wouldn't even look into. And they could connect problems to answers that humans would never have time to find. So I came up with a name for it, and I call it the Erdős Gap. And it's a case where the solution exists, but you just cannot find them. And it's mostly because you're just incapable of finding them. The scale's too large, the vocabulary is too different. The papers are in completely different context, in a different place. This isn't unique to mathematics. But as you know, in all those podcasts, I always try to draw connections to other fields. You've probably done this yourself. You might have spent 20 minutes solving a problem, and then you remembered that you had already solved this months ago. The answer was somewhere in an email that you have completely forgotten. It is the professional equivalent of buying new socks because you cannot find the matching pair. Now, multiply that across 1,000 employees, 10 systems, and 5 years of accumulated knowledge, and you know what we're talking about. And it's everywhere. In drugs, there are thousands of approved drugs, and they might be able to treat conditions that they were never designed for, but connecting them requires reading across vast and fragmented literature. Viagra was initially a failed heart medication. Thalidomide was marketed as a safe sedative in the 1950s. You might have heard about it. You might have read about this. It caused severe disabilities in over 10,000 children and just as many lost pregnancies. Absolutely tragic. Now, decades later, the same drug became a treatment for blood cancer. benevolent AI. There was a website and a bit of a movement around analysis of drugs. Benevolent AI used machine learning to identify baristinib. This is a bit of a tongue twister for me, but let me try to go for it. A rheumatoid arthritis drug as a potential COVID treatment. I think I do well here. That was in early 2020, shortlisted as a potential COVID treatment, and in clinical trials, it was confirmed that this drug in fact worked. In patents, same story. Large companies sit on tens of thousands of patents they don't actively use. Did you know that IBM holds over 150,000 patents? Somewhere in there, there's probably a solution to a problem that IBM right now might be putting millions of dollars into solving, right? There's a lot of organizations who have vast knowledge resources but are simply unaware of what's in them. Internal knowledge silos, I imagine, there's a global organization, maybe the office in Sydney has solved a particular problem, but the office in Singapore of the same organization has no idea that the Sydney office has solved it. The Sydney office probably saved a description of this problem on a web page somewhere on Confluence, SharePoint, you name it. And the other office just cannot find it. I used to work for a large organization years ago where we had an internal joke that if Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, he should have uploaded them into our internal knowledge system because no one would ever be able to find them. This is the Erdős problem at enterprise scale. Many too many, scattered across systems, no one connecting the dots. And a few years ago, my team worked with a large government department in which those individual divisions that we worked with, some of them solved a specific problem. Now, other divisions, they had precisely the same issue, but they weren't aware that the other divisions have solved the problem. People talked, but they never realized they were using different terms. They had sort of division-specific language. That's as far as I can go in disclosing this, to describe the problem. This is where AI excels. It matches meaning, not just keywords. So where does Erdős Gap hide? Honestly, it's everywhere. It's in businesses that use multiple systems to store documents. I have teams or work with teams that have a G Drive, a OneDrive, a Confluence, a SharePoint, Notion. It's all in one office, in one team. It's in organizations that never mind their support tickets. Imagine support tickets are not just problems, but also solution to those problems. Some creative ones as well. And it's where different teams use different words for the same problem. So scattered archives, solutions in disguise, and vocabulary silos. I refer to them as location gaps, context gaps, and semantic gaps. And to me, these are the three signatures of an Erdős gap. Now ask yourself, where in your business do you suspect the answer already exists? But if it does, finding it might cost more than resolving it. All right? Before you commission another research project, ask the Erdős Gap question. Has someone already solved this in the organization? Or maybe even outside. To find a solution to a problem might simply require what the phrase suggests, finding one that already exists. And that's precisely the kind of nut that AI is starting to crack. All right, you stay curious.